Hey guys, tonight we're cruising down Arizona's desert highways, where the asphalt hums under your tires and the air smells of sagebrush and secrets. Picture yourself behind the wheel, the endless black ribbon of Route 66 stretching into the night. Cacti standing like silent sentinels under a sky so big it swallows your thoughts. The radio crackles faintly, but it's the story's whispers of a phantom hitchhiker that keep you awake. Fair warning, you probably won't survive this tale without checking your rear-view mirror twice. So, before you get comfortable, take a moment to like the video and subscribe, but only if you genuinely enjoy what I do here. Drop a comment with your location and local time. I'm curious where you're drifting off from tonight. Now, dim the lights, maybe turn on a fan for that soft background hum, and let's ease into tonight's journey together. You're driving alone, the kind of alone where the world feels like it's just you and the road. Route 66, once America's main street, cuts through Arizona's high desert, a path carved in the 1920s to carry dreamers west. Back then, it was a lifeline for migrants fleeing the Dust Bowl, their Model Ts rattling past newborn diners and gas stations. Today, it's a ghost of itself, but the stories linger. The Phantom Hitchhiker, they say, appears on moonless nights, a figure in a tattered coat, thumb out, eyes hollow. Locals swear he's tied to a 1930s drifter who vanished near Kingman, his body never found. Historians still argue whether he was a victim of bandits or just wandered into the desert estuaries. You squint at the horizon, where the road shimmers like a mirage. Your headlights catch a rusted sign. Next stop, 20 miles. The desert's quiet, but it's not empty. Truckers talk about a quirky legend, old Navajo trader who debartered ghost beads at roadside stands, claiming they'd ward off spirits. You chuckle, but your fingers brush the dashboard, half wishing you had one. The air's cooling now, and you roll down the window, letting the scent of creosote flood the cab. It's the kind of night where you feel small, like the desert could eat you whole, and no one noticed. You remember a road trip years back, driving this same stretch with a friend who swore he saw a shadow dart across the road. You laughed it off, too much diner coffee. You said, but now, alone, you're not so sure. The dashboard clock ticks past midnight, and your eyes flick to the empty passenger seat. Nothing there, yet you smirk at your own nerves. It's just a story, right? Like the one about the jackrabbit that outran a semi-pured trucker yarn. But then your high beams catch something a flicker. Maybe a coyote, maybe not. Your grip tightens on the wheel. The road hums, and you settle into its rhythm, the tires singing a low lullaby. You're not sleepy, not yet, but the desert's got a way of pulling you into its spell. The hitchhiker's tail feels closer now, like it's riding shotgun, waiting to spill its secrets. You glance at the mile marker, still a ways to the next truck stop. The stars are out, sharp as pinpricks, and you wonder if the phantom's watching, too, somewhere just beyond the light. You're still cruising along Route 66, the desert night wrapping around you like a heavy blanket, the kind that makes you feel both safe and smothered. The faint glow you spotted last section sharpens into view, a neon-lit truck stop, its sign flickering like it's on its last legs, buzzing EAT in pink and blue. You pull into the lot, tires crunching gravel, and kill the engine. The silence hits hard, broken on the bithmefafacious. You spout, boot scuffing, dust, and take in the scene. A Lowe's-lung diner, a couple of semis parked crooked, and a gas pump that looks older than your grandpa's stories. This is the kind of place where the phantom hitchhiker feels real, like he's leaning against a post, watching you fumble with your keys. Back in the 1940s, truck stops like this one were lifelines along Route 66. They popped up to feed and fueled the war effort, serving soldiers and truckers hauling supplies across the Southwest. This one, near Hackberry, Arizona, was real, built in '42. It wasn't for Jesendrift, Schrei-slinging hash bronsons, but the stories say it's also where the hitchhikers started showing up. Thumb out, faceholv hidden by it, so me say histad werdestod, ho-o-o-en-a-lo-lo-lo. Others, a wanderer lost. Historians still grew from aerial disappearance, or just lonely nights and too much coffee. You stretch, your back popping, and eye the diner's glowing windows. There's a quirky legend about this place, a jukebox that only plays one song, Ghost Rid, errs in the sky, no matter what button you push. Truckers swear it's the fan, Tom's favorite, like he's still out there, picking the tunes. You grin, imagining Sompo soplipping a quarter in, expecting Johnny Cash and getting spooked. Instead, you're not here for music, though you need a coffee, maybe a slice of pie, something to keep you sharp. The desert's got a way of making you feel like you're the only soul left, and you're not sure you like it. You push through the diner's door, bells jingling, and the smell of grease and burnt toast hits you. The place is half empty. A trucker in a flannel hunched over a burger, a waitress wiping the counter with a rag older than she is. You slide into a booth, vinyl creaking, and scan the menu. It's standard eggs, bar, con, something called Desert Delight, that's probably just yesterday's hash. You think back to a road trippery years ago, stopping at Taplasishik, Hesworth appears, life-changing, but you both got food poisoning and spent the night cursing apple filling. You chuckle under your breath, good times, in a twisted way. You waitress, an amateur grading Darlene, Porcio, it's black, bitter, and hot enough to wake the dead. You sip, wincing, and glance out the window. The neon sin flickers again, casting shadows that move a little too slow. You shake height off, but the stories creep back. Truckers say the Hitchhiker too. Dozen Justin Horthy Hilklin Benchurik, silent, then vanish one. You hit the next town. You roll your eyes. Sure, and I bet he tips in ghost coins, but your fingers tap the mug, restless, and you can't help but check the empty booth across from you. Outside, the desert stretches endless, the kind of vast that makes you feel like a speck. You think about the soldier, or drifter, or whoever the phantom was. Did he sit in a place like this, nursing a coffee, dreaming of somewhere else? The waitress hums, refilling your mug, and you notice her glance at the door, like she's expecting someone who never shows. You lean back, the coffee warming your hands, and let the truck stop's hum pull you deeper. The night's young, but the desert's old, and it's got stories it's not done telling. You're sitting in the diner, the coffee in your mug cooling as you stare out at the gravel lot, where the neon glow barely reaches. The truck stop feels like a bubble in the desert's vastness, a place where time's stuck somewhere between midnight and never. You shift in the booth, the vinyl squeaking, and notice the shadows outside, long jagged shapes cast by parked semis that seem to sway. Thothers, no wind. Phantom Hitchiker's hums in your head, and you wonder if he's out there now, waiting for a ride he'll never take. You shake it off, but your eyes keep drifting to the lot, half expecting a figure to step into the light. In the 1950s, Route 66 was at its peak, a neon-lit artery pumping life through Arizona's desert towns. Truck stops like this one were social hubs, where locals and travelers swapped stories over pie and cigarettes. Near Oatman, a real stop called the Sidewinder served miners and truckers until it burned down in '58, leaving only rumors and a card Fondaindian, Somsathith Ichwask, a regular there, a quiet guy who'd sit at the counter, then vanish before paying. Historians still argue whether he was a local eccentric or a myth born from late-night yarns, but the fires cause faulty wiring or something spookier remains a mystery. You sip your coffee, grimacing at its bitterness, and spot a quirky detail. The diner's salt shakers are shaped like tiny cacti, chipped and faded from years of use. There's a local tale about a trucker who collected these, claiming they held desert magic to keep ghosts at bay. You smirk, a guy probably sold them on eBay as haunted relics, but you pocket one anyway, just for the story. Darlene catches the Owen winks, like Jacinta for. You shrug, playing Ganesant, and she slides a slice of pecan pie your way, unasked. It's sticky sweet, and you savor it, the crunch of nuts grounding you in the moment. Your Mindwanda Stomiordid, a long-haul driver, telling your Bal, a night in '92, when as Stopadatic, he swore Hesoa Amaninthi, lot, thumb out, but when he offered a ride, the guy was gone. Road fever, he'd laughed, but you remember his hands shaking as he lit a cigarette. You used to roll your eyes at his stories, but now, with the desert pressing in, you're not so sure. You glance at the lot again, and for a second, you think you see a shadow move tall, lean, coat flapping. You blink, and it's just a tarp caught on a fence. Nice one, brain, you think, chuckling to yourself. The diner's quiet, save for the clink of a spoon in the trucker's mug across the room. You stretch your legs under the table, boots brushing something sticky, probably ancient syrup. Phantom Stalisals here, like it's woven into the diner's cracked linoleum. They say he doesn't speak, just points down the road, and when you look back, your passenger seat's empty. You snort. Yeah, Andy Bethleave is still too, but you check the window wagon, and the lot's still empty. the semis looming like sleeping giants. You finish the pie, licking the fork clean, and feel a chill, like someone's watching from just beyond the glass. You stand, tossing a few bucks on the table, and head for the door. The bells jingle, sharp in the quiet, and you step into the lot, the gravel crunching underfoot. The air's colder now, smelling of diesel and sagebrush, and you pull your jacket tight. Your truck's parked where you left it, but you swear the shadows around it are darker, thicker. You laugh it off to much pie, not enough sleep, but as you walk, you feel the desert's eyes on you, and the hitchhiker story doesn't seem so funny anymore. You're back in the diner, settled in your booth, the pecan pie's sweetness still lingering on your tongue as you nurse a fresh cup of coffee. The neon glow outside flickers, casting jittery shadows across the lot, and the desert night feels like it's leaning in, whispering secrets through the cracked window pane. The fan, Tom Hitchhiker's tale, is stuck in your head, and every creak of the diner's floor makes a glancer, half expecting Tozy Astringer at it, slide into the booth across from you. You shake it off, sipping the coffee still bitter, but it's keeping you sharp. This place, with its faded checkered floor and buzzing, fluorescent lights, feels like a stage for the ghost stories you've been chasing all night. Back in the 1960s, Route 66 truck stops like this one were more than pit stops. They were cultural landmarks, immortalized on Stunts Road. This diner, or one just like it near Yucca, Arizona, was a real haunt for trucker Shalom for Frey, two folks chasing the American promise, but it also collected darker tales. The hitchhiker, locals say, started showing up more often, a figure hopper, in your rearview mirror, silent, only to vanish when you hit the next town. Historians still argue whether Hitchhiker collected deprived drivers or a real person whose story got lost in the desert's haze. You glance at the menu again, tucked under a sticky ketchup bottle, and notice something odd. A handwritten item scrawled at the bottom. Phantom's pie, described as a slice of nowhere, served cold. You chuckle, someone's leaning into the myth a bit too hard. There's a quirky local story about a cook here in the 70s who swore he served a man who paid with a coin. Dated 1933, years after he'd vanished. The coin's long gone, but the tale stuck, passed around like a bad penny. You tap the menu, wondering if Darlene's got a stash of those coins behind the counter, just for kicks. Your mind drifts to a memory, your first solo road trip, maybe 10 years back, when you stopped at a diner not far from here. You were young, cocky, blasting music to stay awake, but the waitress, an older woman with tired eyes, told you to watch the road at night. Things show up, she'd said, and you laughed, thinking she was pulling your leg. Now, sitting here, you wonder if she'd seen the hitchhiker, too. You smile, picturing yourself back then, all bravado and bad gas station snacks bet. You'd have spilled your soda if a ghost climbed in. The thought makes you laugh, but it's a quiet one, swallowed by the diner's hum. You look around, taking in the details, the chipped mugs, the faint grease stains on the walls, thejik boxent, fliferachton nana. You are tempted to try it, see if that Ghost Rider's legend holds up, but you stay put, letting the coffee's warmth anchor you. Outside, the lot's still empty, but you swear you see a flicker near your trucker shadow, maybe, or just the neon playing tricks. You rub your eyes, muttering, "Get it together, pal." But the stories are piling up, and the desert's not helping. It's silence louder than any noise. You think about the hitchhiker, his silent rides, and wonder what he's after: redemption, revenge, or just a lift to the next nowhere. You lean back, the booth creaking, and let your gaze drift to the ceiling, where a fan spins lazily, stirring the air. The waitress shuffles by, humming a tune you can't place, and you catch her glancing outside, like she's waiting for someone who's never coming. You've got a long drive ahead, but the diner's got you hooked, its stories pulling you deeper into the night. You sip your coffee, the cup warm against your palms, and feel the dessert watching, patient, like it knows you're not leaving just yet. You're still in the diner, the coffee in your mug now lukewarm, its bitter edge softened by the sugar you stirred in absent-mindedly. The neon glow from the truck stop sign outside pulses faintly, throwing jittery light across the lot, where your truck sits like a loyal dog waiting for you to move on. But you're not ready. To leave this place has its hooks in you, with its cracked linoleum and the faint hum of a refrigerator in the back. The Phantom Hitchhiker's story feels closer now, like it's sitting at the counter, sipping coffee of its own. You glance toward the corner, where an old payphone hangs on the wall. its receiver dangling like it's waiting for a call that'll never come. Something about it pulls you up, and you wander over, boots scuffing the floor, the desert night pressing against the windows. In the 1950s, payphones like this one were lifelines along Route 66, connecting truckers and travelers to far-off families or dispatchers barking orders. Near Kingman, a real payphone at a truck stop called Dusty's became infamous after a trucker vanished in '57, last seen making a call that no one could trace. Locals tied it to the hitchhiker, saying he'd been spotted nearby, thumb out, the same night. Historians still argue whether the disappearance was foul play or just a man skipping town. But the payphone's eerie reputation stuck, a relic of a time when a dime could buy you a voice or maybe a ghost. You stand by the phone, its metal cold under your fingers, and notice a quirky detail. Scratched into the booth are initials, dozens of them, carved by bored travelers or lovesick truckers. There's a local tale about a driver who swore he found his own initials here, etched years before he was born. Spooky nonsense, you think, but you trace a few with your thumb, half expecting them to spell something creepy. You chuckle, probably just kids with too much time and a pocket knife. But the air feels heavy, and you swear you hear a faint hum, like static from a call that never disconnected. Your mind drifts to a memory you remember years ago, telling you about her own road trip through Arizona in the 80s. She stopped at a diner like this, used a payphone to call your grandma, and heard a weird echo, like someone else was on Fallon. "Just the dessert messing with me," she'd said, but you remember her uneasy laugh. You were a kid then, eating cereal, thinking she was just being dramatic. Now, standing here, you wonder if she heard something real. You smirk, picturing her freaking out over a bad connection. Bet she'd have hung up faster if she knew about the hitchhiker. You lean against the booth, the payphone's silence louder than it should be. Outside, the lot's still, but you catch a flicker near a semi-my best red egg. Maybe nothing. You mutter, "Great, now I'm jumping at shadows." The stories are getting to you, piling up like dust. They say the hitchhiker doesn't just appear, he listens, waiting for you to speak his name. You snort. "Yeah, and I bet he's got a podcast, too." But you step back to your booth, the payphone looming behind you, and grab your coffee. It's cold now, but you sip it anyway, the bitterness grounding you. The waitress, Darlene, shuffles by, wiping her hands on her apron. She glances at the payphone, then at you, her eyes narrowing like she knows something you don't. You nod, playing it cool, but your pulse ticks up. The diner's quiet, save for the clink of dishes in the back, and you think about that missing trucker, his call to nowhere. Did he see the hitchhiker too, or was he just another story the desert swallowed? You settle back in the booth, the vinyl creaking, and let the night's weight settle over you. The road's still out there, and so's the phantom, waiting for you to make your move. You're back in your booth, the diner's fluorescent lights buzzing softly overhead, casting a sterile glow over the chipped mugs and sticky menus. The coffee in your hand is fresh. Darlene refilled it without a word, her eyes flicking to the payphone you were just messing with. Outside, the neon truck stop sign hums, its pink and blue light dancing across the gravel lot where your truck waits patiently under the desert's endless sky. The Phantom Hitchhiker story is a low hum in your mind, and you can't help but glance at the jukebox in the corner, its chrome edges glinting like it's daring you to give it a try. You've heard the rumors about this thing, and curiosity is gnawing at you. So you fish a quarter from your pocket and saunter over, boots thudding on the linoleum. In the 1960s, jukeboxes were the heartbeat of Route 66 diners, pumping out Elvis and Patsy Cline to keep truckers awake and teenagers dreaming. This one, or one like it, near Seligman, Arizona, was Rila Wurlitzer, that stood in a now-shuttered diner called the Roadrunner. Locals say it was the hitchhiker's spot, where he'd linger, playing the same song over and over before vanishing. The song, Ghost Riders in the Sky. Naturally, historians still argue whether the jukebox tales were just marketing to draw in tourists, or if something weirder was at play, like a glitch that kept the record spinning after the power cut out. You slide the quarter in, the machine worry to life, and punch a random button, something upbeat, maybe Chuck Berry. But the needle drops, and sure enough, the slow, eerie twang of Ghost Riders fills the diner. You laugh, shaking your head. Real, original, dessert. There's a quirky legend about this jukebox. Truckers swear it plays on its own at 3 a.m., even unplugged. You check your watch well past that. Thank goodness. Still, you lean against the machine, its vibrations tickling your spine, and wonder if the phantom's got a sense of humor or just bad taste in music. Your mind drifts to a memory your high school buddy, obsessed with old diners, dragging you to one on a summer road trip. He'd feed quarters into a jukebox like this, playing the same song until the waitress threatened to kick you out. You'd laughed, sneaking fries off his plate. But now you wonder if that diner had its own ghost stories. You were too busy being a dumb kid to notice, but the memory's got a strange weight tonight, like it's tied to this place. You smirk, thinking of your buddy's awful dance moves. Guy could scare off a ghost with those alone. The song's chorus kicks in, all yips and hoofbeats, and you glance around. The diner's near empty, just Darlene wiping the counter and the trucker from earlier, now staring into his coffee like it holds the meaning of life. You catch a chill, not from the music but from the window, where the lot looks darker, the shadows thicker. You squint, and for a second, you think you see a figure by your truck tool, coat flapping. You blink, and it's gone. Just a trick of the neon. Nice try, brain, you mutter, but your heart's doing a little tap dance. You wander back to your booth, the jukebox still crooning about spectral cowboys. The hitchhiker's tale feels alive here, like he's picking the playlist, daring you to stay. They say he doesn't just haunt the road, he haunts the places where people pause, like this diner, where the air's thick with stories. You sip your coffee, the warmth steadying you, and think about the Roadrunner's jukebox, its ghostly tunes. Did the phantom linger there too, or is this just the desert spinning its yarns? You lean back, the booth creaking, and let the song fade. The diner's quiet wrapping around you like a blanket. You're still in the diner, the jukebox's last notes fading into the hum of the desert night, leaving you with the faint clink of dishes and the buzz of the neon sign outside. You're back in your booth, coffee gone cold again, the mug's handle chipped like it's seen 1,000 hands before yours. The truck stop feels like a time capsule, trapped in a loop of grease and stories, and the phantom hitchhiker's presence lingers, as if he's sitting just out of sight, listening to the same silence you are. You glance at the counter, where Darlene's wiping down the same spot for the third time, her movements slow, almost hypnotic. The lot outside is still, the semis looming like sleeping beasts, but the desert's vastness presses against the windows, making you feel like you're the only soul awake in this nowhere place. In the 1970s, Route 66 was fading as interstates like I-40 stole its thunder, but truck stops, like this one near Truxton, Arizona, hung on, serving as havens for those still chasing the old road's magic. A real diner, the Frontier was a hotspot for truckers and drifters, its counter lined with stories of the hitchhiker, a man in a tattered coat who'd sit silently, then vanish before the check came. Locals swore he was a wanderer who died in a 70s dust storm, his body lost to the sands. Historians still argue whether he was a real person or a myth born from the loneliness of the road. But the Frontier's guestbook, long gone, supposedly held his signature, scrawled in faded ink. You lean forward, elbows on the table, and notice a quirky detail. A napkin holder shaped like a tiny Route 66 sign, its paint peeling, but still proud. There is a local tale about a trucker who'd leave napkins scrawled with poetry at stops like this, claiming they were gifts for the ghost. You smirk, poetry's nice, but you'd settle for a ghost who pays for coffee. You pull a napkin out, half tempted to scribble something yourself, but settle for doodling a cactus instead. Darlene catches you, raises an eyebrow, and you shrug, feeling like a kid caught passing notes. Your mind drifts to a memory, your aunt, a free spirit who loved road trips, telling you about a night she spent at a diner like this in '95. She'd sat at the counter, chatting with a quiet man who seemed off, like he didn't belong. When she turned to ask his name, he was gone, his coffee untouched. She'd laughed it off, blaming cheap wine, but you remember her eyes, wide and unsettled. You used to tease her about it, calling her ghost whisperer, but now, in this diner, you wonder if she met him, the hitchhiker. You chuckle, picturing her trying to charm a ghost with her bad puns. She'd probably scare him off first. The counter's quiet now, save for Darlene's humming, a tune you can't place but feels older than the desert itself. You glance outside, and the lot's shadows seem to shift, curling around your truck like smoke. You squint, heart ticking up, but it's just the neon flickering again. Get a grip, you mutter, rubbing your eyes. The hitchhiker's story is getting under your skin, his silent presence woven into the diner's bones. They say he doesn't just haunt the road, he haunts the pauses, the moments when you're alone with your thoughts. You lean back, the booth's vinyl creaking, and sip the cold coffee, grimacing. The desert's watching, patient, and you feel the weight of its stories, pulling you deeper into the night. You're still in the diner, the jukebox's last notes, fading into the hum of the desert night, leaving you with the faint clink of dishes and the buzz of the neon sign outside. You're back in your booth, coffee gone cold again, the mug's handle chipped like it's seen 1,000 hands before yours. The truck stop feels like a time capsule, trapped in a loop of grease and stories, and the Phantom Hitchhiker's presence lingers, as if he's sitting just out of sight, listening to the same silence you are. You glance at the counter, where Darlene's wiping down the same spot for the third time. Her movement's slow, almost hypnotic. The lot outside is still, the semis looming like sleeping beasts, but the desert's vastness presses against the windows, making you feel like you're the only soul awake in this nowhere place. In the 1970s, Route 66 was fading as interstates like I-40 stole its thunder, but truck stops, like this one near Truxton, Arizona, hung on, serving as havens for those still chasing the old road's magic. A real diner, the Frontier was a hotspot for truckers and drifters, its counter lined with stories of the hitchhiker, a man in a tattered coat who'd sit silently, then vanish before the check came. Locals swore he was a wanderer who died in a 70s dust storm, his body lost to the sands. Historians still argue whether he was a real person or a myth born from the loneliness of the road, but the Frontier's guestbook, long gone, supposedly held his signature, scrawled in faded ink. You lean forward, elbows on the table, and notice a quirky detail. A napkin holder shaped like a tiny Route 66 sign, its paint peeling, but still proud. There is a local tale about a trucker who'd leave napkins scrawled with poetry at stops like this, claiming they were gifts for the ghost. You smirk, poetry's nice, but you'd settle for a ghost who pays for coffee. You pull a napkin out, half tempted to scribble something yourself, but settle for doodling a cactus instead. Darlene catches you, raises an eyebrow, and you shrug, feeling like a kid caught passing notes. Your mind drifts to a memory your aunt, a free spirit who loved road trips, telling you about a night she spent at a diner like this in '95. She'd sat at the counter, chatting with a quiet man who seemed off, like he didn't belong. When she turned to ask his name, he was gone, his coffee untouched. She'd laughed it off, blaming cheap wine, but you remember her eyes, wide and unsettled. You used to tease her about it, calling her ghost whisperer, but now, in this diner, you wonder if she met him, the hitchhiker. You chuckle, picturing her trying to charm a ghost with her bad puns. She'd probably scare him off first. The counter's quiet now, save for Darlene's humming, a tune you can't place but feels older than the desert itself. You glance outside, and the lot's shadows seem to shift, curling around your truck like smoke. You squint, heart ticking up, but it's just the neon flickering again. Get a grip, you mutter, rubbing your eyes. The hitchhiker's story is getting under your skin, his silent presence woven into the diner's bones. They say he doesn't just haunt the road, he haunts the pauses, the moments when you're alone with your thoughts. You lean back, the booth's vinyl creaking, and sip the cold coffee, grimacing. The desert's watching, patient, and you feel the weight of its stories, pulling you deeper into the night. You're still in the diner, the CB radio's faint static fading into the background as you push your empty coffee mug aside, its ceramic clinking softly against the counter. The neon glow outside pulses, painting the gravel lot in shades of pink and blue. But the desert beyond feels heavier now, like it's holding its breath. Your truck's out there, a lone silhouette against the endless night, and the Phantom Hitchhiker's story is a weight in your chest, making you check the empty booth across from you one too many times. You're restless, so you stand, stretching your legs, and wander toward the diner's exit, the bells jingling as you step into the cool air. The lot's quiet, but something pulls you past your truck, toward a faint path leading into the desert, where you spot a small, weathered marker half buried in the sand. You crouch, brushing away dust, and feel the hitchhiker's shadow looming closer. In the 1970s, Route 66 was dotted with roadside markers, some commemorating pioneers, others warning of dangers like flash floods or bandits. Near Ash Fork, Arizona, a real marker was erected in '72 to mark a spot where a drifter's belongings were found. Boots, a coat, nothing else. Locals tied it to the hitchhiker, saying he'd left his mark before vanishing for good. Historians still argue whether the drifter was a victim of foul play or simply walked into the desert, chasing a mirage. The marker's still there, or so they say, its inscription worn to whispers by wind and time. You trace the marker's faded words, barely legible, something about rest and road. There's a quirky tale about this spot. Truckers claim footprints appear around it at dawn, leading nowhere, vanishing by noon. You glance down, half expecting to see them, and laugh softly. Nothing but your own boot prints. Still, you kick at the sand, feeling like a kid playing archaeologist, and wonder if the desert's messing with you. The air's sharp, smelling of sage and something metallic, and you pull your jacket tighter, the chill sinking into your bones. Your mind drifts to a memory of Grandpa, a grizzled old trucker, telling you about a night he stopped near here in '83. He'd found a marker like this, felt uneasy, and swore he saw footprints circling his rig. Just the wind, he'd grumbled. But you remember his hands, steady as steel, shaking as he told the story. You'd teased him, saying he'd watched too many westerns, but now, crouching here, you're not so sure. You chuckle, picturing him glaring at you over his glasses bet. He'd have a choice word for your nerves right now. The marker's rough under your fingers, and you stand, scanning the desert. The lot's quiet, but you swear you see a shadow shift near a cactus, tall and lean, coat flapping. You blink, and it's gone, just a trick of the light. Nice one, desert, you mutter, your breath visible in the cold. The hitchhiker's story feels alive out here, like he's walking the same path you are, his footprints just out of sight. They say he doesn't just haunt the road, he haunts the markers, the places where the desert keeps its secrets. You turn back toward the diner, its neon glow, a beacon, but the path behind you feels heavier, like the sands remembering something you're not ready to know. You're still rolling down Route 66, the desert night pressing against your windows like a held breath. The stars above burn fierce, a million tiny fires scat-tiered across the black pit, and the cacti stand tall, their spines glinting faintly in your headlights. You're deep in Arizona's high desert now, where the air tastes of dust and possibility. The Phantom Hitchhiker's story clings to you, and you can't shake the feeling that the road itself is listening, waiting for you to notice something just out of sight. Back in the 1930s, Thistrachus the Arizona Way Department, formed in 1927, poured sweat into paving Route 66, turning dirt tracks into a ribbon of progress. But the desert didn't care. Sandstorms buried cars, handbrakes stressed from that era, boots crunching on gravel, thumb out, hoping for a ride that never came. Locals say that's who the Phantom is, a man named Jack, or maybe Jake, who vanished near Seligman in '34. His story's fuzzy, but truckers swear he's still out here, hitching rides to nowhere. You lean back, the seat creaking, and let the road's hum pull you deeper. There's Aquakita Lefatofiasti, an old woman selling star charms, bits of polished stone she claimed were blessed by the night sky. Travelers bought them for luck, half laughing, but you wonder if they clutched those stones when the desert turned mean. Historians still argue whether she was an artist or a genuine mystic, her charms lost to time like so much else out here. Your mind drifts to a memory or uncle's story from a cross-country haul in the '80s. He drove this route, said the stars felt close enough to touch, but the loneliness was a weight. One night, near Kingman, he saw a man by the road, coat flapping, face hidden. He slowed, but when he looked again, the guy was gone. Desert plays tricks, he'd said, but his voice shook. You smile now. Think Ingo Fispet Kofiate guy probablischer wordness. Still, you check your mirrors, just in case. The road curves gently, and you spot a distant glow, maybe a town, maybe a truck stop. Your thermos sloshes, the last dregs of coffee gone cold. You're tempted to stop, stretch your legs, but the story's got you hooked. The Phantom, they say, doesn't just appear, he chooses you. You snort at the thought. Chooses me. Yeah, right. Like I'm special enough to haunt. But the desert's quiet feels heavier now, and you turn up the radio, hoping for static to drown it out. It crackles, then fades, leaving you with the stars on the road. You pass a weathered mile marker, its numbers barely legible. The air's crisp, sneaking through the cracked window, and you pull your jacket tighter. You think about Jack, or Jake, or whoever he was. Did he stare at these same stars, wondering if at what tight? Tides detto sinstrizzi. Easy, but it's good at keeping them. You ease off the gas, letting the truck coast, and for a moment, you swear you see a shadow flicker in the ditch. Probably nothing. Probably, you're trudging back from the desert marker, the diner's neon glow pulling you like a moth to a flame, its pink and blue light cutting through the dark. The gravel crunches under your boots, and the air is sharp with sagebrush and a faint whiff of diesel from the lot. Your truck's still there, a stubborn shadow against the vast desert night, but the Phantom Hitchhiker story clings to you, heavier now, like dust you can't shake off. Back inside the diner, the warmth hits you, along with the smell of burnt toast and grease. You slide into your booth, but something catches your Arja dusty logbook, tucked behind the napkin holder, its leather cover cracked like old skin. You pull it out, curious, and flip it open. The page is yellowed and curling. The hitchhiker's tale feels like it's written in the air, and this book, you sense, might hold a piece of it. In the 1960s, truck stops along Route 66 often kept logbooks for drivers to scribble notes, routes, or complaints about the coffee. Near Valentine, Arizona, a real diner called the Sagebrush Inn had one, filled with entries about breakdowns, storms, and eerie sightings. One page, dated '67, mentioned a quiet man who hitched rides but never spoke, vanishing before dawn. Locals tied it to the hitchhiker, claiming he'd signed the book with a single initial J. Historians still argue whether these entries were pranks or proof of something stranger, but the sagebrush burned down in '69, and its logbook, like this one, survived only in whispers. You run your finger over the pages, noticing a quirky detail. Some entries are written in code, like trucker shorthand, or maybe something weirder. There's a local tale about a driver who claimed the hitchhiker left riddles in logbooks, cryptic notes about the next mile, or the last turn. You smirk. Sounds like someone had too much time and a flair for drama. But you pause on a page with a single letter, J, scrawled in shaky ink. Your pulse ticks up, and you laugh it off, muttering, "Nice try, ghost." Still, you keep the book open, its musty smell mixing with the diner's coffee haze. Your mind drifts to a memory your cousin, a wannabe writer, dragging you to a Route 66 diner in '05 to soak up the vibes. He'd found a logbook, read it like it was Shakespeare, and swore he'd write a novel about a ghost trucker. You'd rolled your eyes, stealing his fries, but you remember his excitement, his pen scratching late into the night. Now, holding this book, you wonder if he was onto something. You chuckle, picturing him trying to pitch Phantom Trucker to a publisher. Bet they'd have laughed him out the door. The logbook's pages crinkle as you turn them, and you catch Darlene watching you, her eyes sharp, like she knows what you're reading. Outside, the lot's shadows shift, the neon flickering just enough to make you squint. You think you see a figure near your truckling coat flapping, but it's gone when you blink. "Get it together," you mutter, rubbing your eyes. The hitchhiker's story is weaving into the book's faded ink, his silence louder than the diner's hum. They say he doesn't just haunt the road, he haunts the words, the stories left behind. You close the book, its weight heavy in your hands, and lean back, the booth creaking. As the desert waits outside, patient and full of secrets, you're still in the diner, the logbook resting on the table, its cracked leather cover catching the faint glow of the neon sign outside. The coffee in your mug is stone cold now, but you don't care. You're too caught up in the hitchhiker's story, its threads tangling with the diner's hum and the desert's endless quiet. You push the logbook aside and glance out the window, where the lot's shadows stretch long and thin, your truck a dark shape against the horizon. But something else catches your eye, flickering lights, low and strange, dancing just beyond the cacti, like fireflies that don't belong in this dry, empty place. Your breath catches, and you lean closer to the glass. The Phantom Hitchhiker's tale, feeling like it's spilling out of the night itself. Those lights, a signal of something you're not sure you want to understand. In the 1980s, Route 66 saw a surge in strange sightings, especially near Chloride, Arizona, where truckers reported unexplained lights hovering over the desert. A real incident in '86 made headlines. A convoy of drivers saw glowing orbs pacing their rigs, fading into the night without a trace. Some called it ball lightning, others swore it was UFOs, tying it to the hitchhiker, claiming he was no ghost but an alien wanderer. Historians still argue whether these lights were atmospheric quirks or something extraterrestrial, but the stories stuck, fueling late-night CB chatter and diner debates. You stare at the lights now, flickering like they're teasing you, and wonder if the desert's playing its old tricks again. You rub your eyes, noticing a quirky detail. The diner's sugar packets have tiny UFOs printed on them, a nod to the local lore. There is a tale about a waitress here in the 80s who collected UFO sightings on napkins, pinning them to a corkboard that's long gone. You smirk, bet she made a killing selling those to tourists. You grab a packet, tearing it open to sweeten your cold coffee, but your eyes stay on the lights outside, pulsing faintly, like they're waiting for you to make a move. Your mind drifts to a memory, your old college roommate, a sci-fi nerd, dragging you to a stargazing spot near here in '07. He'd brought a telescope, swearing you'd see UFOs, but all you got were mosquito bites and a sore neck. He'd rambled about alien hitchhikers, linking them to Route 66 legends, and you'd laughed, calling him a tinfoil hat wannabe. Now, watching those lights, you're not so sure. You chuckle, picturing him freaking out over these flickers, bet he'd have a whole conspiracy theory by now. The lights pulse again, and you feel a chill. Not from the cold coffee, but from the desert's gaze, heavy through the window. You glance at Darlene, who's wiping glasses, her eyes flicking outside like she's seen those lights before. You mutter, "Just the wind, right?" but your voice sounds thin. The hitchhiker's story feels tied to those lights, like he's out there, guiding them or following them. They say he doesn't just haunt the road, he haunts the strange, the unexplained, the moments that make you question. You lean back, the booth creaking, and sip the sweetened coffee, grimacing at its cloying taste. The lights flicker one last time, then vanish, leaving the desert darker, quieter, and you, wondering what's waiting beyond the next mile. You're still in the diner, the coaster with its cryptic note. He's still out there, sitting face up on the table, its ink smudged like it's been handled by too many curious hands. The coffee in your mug is still warm, its steam curling lazily, but the hitchhiker's story feels heavier now, like it's pooling in the shadows of the booth. Darlene's at the counter, stacking clean mugs, her humming replaced by the soft clink of ceramic. Outside, the neon sign buzzes, bathing the lot in a flickering glow. Your truck, a stubborn silhouette against the desert's dark. You're ready to hit the road, but something holds you a tug, like the phantom's not done with you yet. You stand, tossing a few bucks on the table, and head for the door. The bells jingling as you step into the crisp night air. The gravel crunches under your boots, and you freeze, spotting a figure by your truck toll, lean coat flapping in a breeze that isn't there. In the 1980s, Route 66 was a ghost of its former self, but its myths grew louder, especially near Oatman, Arizona, where a real incident in '82 fueled the hitchhiker's legend. A trucker reported picking up a man who pointed down the road, silent, only to vanish when the rig hit a curve. The driver found a tattered scarf in the passenger seat, one that matched a missing person's description from '79. Historians still argue whether the scarf was a coincidence or proof of something stranger, but truckers swore the hitchhiker left token scarves, coins, notes as if marking his rides. You glance at your truck, heart thudding, and wonder if you'll find something waiting. You notice a quirky detail, a faded sticker on your truck's door, barely visible, reading "Ride Safe." There's a local tale about a mechanic who'd slapped these on rigs, claiming they'd keep the hitchhiker at bay. You smirk, nice try, but stickers don't scare ghosts. Still, you touch it, half hoping it's got some mojo, and scan the lot. The figure's gone, just a shadow now, blending into the cacti. You mutter, "Real smooth, desert," and laugh, but it's tight, your breath fogging in the cold. Your mind drifts to a memory of your uncle, a retired trucker, telling you about a night in '91 when he stopped here. He'd seen a man by his rig, thumb out, but when he approached, the guy was gone, leaving only a chill in the air. "Road's got eyes," he'd said, sipping whiskey, and you'd laughed, calling him old and spooked. Now, standing by your truck, you're not so sure. You chuckle, picturing him shaking his head at you, but he'd say you read too stubborn to run from a ghost. The lot's quiet, save for the neon's hum and a distant coyote's yip. You unlock your truck, the door creaking, and climb in, the cab's familiar smell of leather and oil grounding you. But you pause, eyes flicking to the passenger seat. Thank God, the hitchhiker's story is a knot in your gut, his silent wave etched into the night. They say he doesn't just haunt the road, he haunts the choices. The moment you decide to keep driving or turn back, you start the engine, its rumble steady, and glance at the lot one last time. The shadows shift, but nothing's there, just the desert, waiting for your next move. You're still in the diner, the memory of those flickering lights beyond the window, lingering like a half-forgotten dream. The logbook's still on the table, its pages closed, but its weight pulls at you, as if the hitchhiker's story is pressed into the ink. Your coffee mug's empty now, the last sugary dregs leaving a sticky film, and you signal Darlene for a refill. She shuffles over, pouring the black brew with a practiced hand, her eyes darting to the lot outside, where the neon sign buzzes, casting its tired glow over your truck. The desert night feels closer, its silence seeping through the glass, and you can't shake the sense that the Phantom Hitchhiker is near, maybe in the shadows, maybe in the steam rising from your fresh coffee. You take a sip, the heat grounding you, and settle back, the booth's vinyl creaking as you try to shake off the night's spell. In the 1970s, Route 66 diners like this one were fading, but they still served as beacons for truckers and wanderers. Near Topac, Arizona, a real diner called The Last Chance was famous for its bottomless coffee and late-night stories, including one about a hitchhiker who'd order a single cup, sit silently, then vanish, leaving the mug full. Drivers swore it was the same man, tied to a '74 wreck where a rig swerved to avoid a figure on the road, only to find no one there. Historians still argue whether the wreck sparked the hitchhiker myth, or just added fuel to an older fire. But the Cafe's coffee, they say, still carries his chill. You notice a quirky detail. The diner's coasters are printed with a faded Route 66 logo, but one has a handwritten note on the back. He's still out there. You chuckle, figuring it's Darlene's idea of a prank, or maybe some trucker's late-night poetry. There is a local tale about a cook here who'd pour an extra coffee every shift, leaving it at an empty stool for the ghost. You glance at the counter, half expecting to see a steaming mug, and laugh softly, bet that coffee's colder than the desert night. Your mind drifts to a memory your dad, years ago, telling you about a stop at a diner like this in '89. He'd been nursing a coffee, exhausted, when a man sat down, ordered nothing, and stared out the window. Dad offered a nod, but when he looked back, the guy was gone, his stool empty. "Too much road," he'd said, brushing it off. But you remember his knuckles white around his mug. You used to tease him, saying he'd spooked himself with bad diner food. But now, with the coaster's note in your hand, you're not so sure. You smirk, picturing him grumbling about ghosts' bet. He'd have poured that extra coffee himself. Darlene refills another customer's mug, her humming soft and steady, like a lullaby for the route. Outside, the lot's shadows seem to shift, curling around your truck like smoke. You squint, heart ticking up, but it's just the neon flickering again. "Come on, man," you mutter, rubbing your face. The hitchhiker's story is sinking in, his silent presence woven into the diner's rhythm. They say he doesn't just haunt the road, he haunts the rituals. The coffee poured, the seats left empty. You set the coaster down, its note facing up, and lean back. The booths creak, a familiar comfort. The desert's out there, patient, and you feel its pull, daring you to stay just a little longer. You're behind the wheel now, the truck's engine rumbling as you pull out of the diner's gravel lot. The neon signs glow, fading in your rearview mirror like a dying star. The desert stretches ahead, Route 66 a dark ribbon under the vast Arizona sky, where the first hints of dawn smudge the horizon with soft pinks and purples. The Phantom Hitchhiker's story lingers, heavy as the dust on your dashboard, and you keep glancing at the empty passenger seat, half expecting to see a tattered coat or those hollow eyes from the tails. The cab's warm, smelling of old leather and the faint coffee you spilled earlier. But the desert's chill seeps through the cracked window, keeping you alert. You ease off the gas, letting the truck coast, the tires humming a sleepy tune as you sink into the night's final moments, the hitchhiker's shadow still trailing you. In the 1990s, Route 66 became a nostalgic draw, with towns like Seligman, Arizona, reviving its legacy through diners and kitschy museums. A real event in '94 near here cemented the hitchhiker's myth. A driver reported a man in his cab who vanished at dawn, leaving behind a faded photo of a 1930s family now stored in a local archive. Historians still argue whether it was a prank or a relic of a lost soul. But the story spread, whispered over CBs and diner counters. You think about that photo, wondering what the desert's hiding, and check your mirrors again, nothing but road and sky. You notice a quirky detail, a small keychain dangling from your ignition. A Route 66 shield you picked up years ago. It's paint-chipped but stubborn. There's a local tale about a gift shop near here that sold hitchhiker charms, tiny trinkets meant to keep him away. You smirk bet. They made a fortune off spooked truckers. You touch the keychain. It's metal cool, and laugh softly, muttering, "Keep me safe, huh?" The road's quiet, but the desert feels alive. Watching, waiting. Your mind drifts to a memory your mum, years back, on a family road trip through Arizona when you were a kid. She'd stopped at a diner like the one you just left, telling you to stay close because the road's got stories. You'd rolled your eyes, sneaking candy from her purse, but you remember her watching the horizon, uneasy now. Driving this stretch, you wonder if she felt the hitchhiker's gaze, too. You chuckle, picturing her scolding a ghost bet she'd have sent him packing with a lecture. The sky lightens, the stars fading as dawn creeps in, soft and slow. You yawn, the night's weight settling into your bones, and the hitchhiker's story feels less like a threat, more like a lullaby. They say he doesn't just haunt the road, he haunts the quiet moments, the spaces between miles where your thoughts drift. You turn up the radio, static crackling, and let the desert's hum carry you forward. The diner, a memory now, its neon lost to the light. The road stretches on, its rhythm rocking you gently, like a cradle under the softening sky. The cacti stand silent, their shadows long and lazy, and the air smells cleaner now, kissed by the first rays of morning. You're tired, eyelids heavy, but there's peace in the hum of the tires, the warmth of the cab wrapping around you. The hitchhiker's tale fades, not gone but softer, like a story told too many times. You're safe here, in this moment, the desert's secrets tucked away for another night. Let the road carry you, its curves a gentle guide, and as the horizon glows, you feel the world slow, your breath steady, ready for sleep to take you.